feels pretty good. You know, the support that I just have from everyone in this room is amazing. I know that even if this is a terrible book, that you guys will support me no matter what. Yeah, love you guys. Thank you so much. I remember the first time I actually understood Cyclic. The first day a younger me could finally comprehend the thing connected to my thoughts. Creation in its most simplistic form, allowing humans to think of any imaginable object and wish it into existence. In fact, the idea that humans ever existed without this tool seemed alien to me, to a lot of children back then. Cal, wake up, baby. We're going to be late. Please get dressed. My eyes break the effective spell sleep held over them, revealing my mother grabbing clothes off the floor that were still clean enough for me to wear to school. She smiles as she sees my feet dangle off the bed and pelts me in the face with yesterday's pants and a shirt that I wore over the weekend. I grab them and throw a sharp look at her to stop rushing me, but she darts out of the room to get ready. I slowly put my clothes on and crawl through the rest of my morning routine. Cal, honestly, you're a 90-year-old man in the morning. Please, let's move it. I put my controller on and send Cyclic flying across the room to retrieve my toothbrush. Mom runs in and finds Cujo and me leaning against the stainless steel sink so that I can slowly zap yesterday's gunk off of my teeth. She towers over me, her long, dark brown hair dangling in my face as she uses the same mirror to do her teeth. Her companion transforms into a hairdryer, which fills the room with treacherous noise. She looks down and over the noise asserts, "Get him off the counter, dear. You know the rules." "Mom, it's not a real dog. Come on. So what if it's on the counter?" I quickly retort, holding my hand to my manifested furry companion. "Your Cyclic still collects gross stuff, young man. It doesn't matter what form it takes right this second," she insists with a playful tone. I let out a loud sigh so she can hear it over the contraption that ruins my peaceful morning, and I move Cujo to the ground. "Don't worry, buddy," I whisper to him. She laughs. "I thought he wasn't real, cool dude." "Real enough, and now you've hurt his feelings. Look." We stare down, and he remains frozen in place with a huge smile on his tiny furry head and a tail cutting through the air in excitement. "Come on, dork. I'll drop you off at school today. I have to be at work on time, though, okay?" I nod, and she runs to pack my lunch. I stare at Cujo and think back to class, studying the history of Serenity and how Cyclic first started. They were small, like me, and made big promises like the ones I make to my mom, telling her that I'll make a better life for us one day. When Serenity first started out, they were laughed at, disregarded in crowdsourcing attempts, but they promised the ability to control a synchronized mass of nanites using only the mental command, which could then be transformed into anything you could imagine, anything you could think of. It's so cool that they never gave up, and now everyone uses it. "Cal, I swear if you don't stop stalling and get ready, I will give you to the neighbors. Move." I leave my mental study and make a run for the front door as it closes behind Mom. Today is my history exam, and I sit behind Alexis. My hands get sweaty as I think about her, and a lump forms in my throat when I see that we're already at the school. "Do a good job today, baby," she shouts as I jump and run for the door. I keep running until I arrive in class and casually walk the last few steps from the door to my seat. Alexis is already there and politely smiles when our eyes meet. "Hey, Cal," she says, looking at the digital display at the front of the room. "Hey, Alexis," I awkwardly reply. "I have to focus. This test is a huge percentage of our final grade, and I can't afford to flunk it. Alexis is the star student. She could probably write Cyclic sucks over and over and still get an A for the semester." My mind races with notes from last night. Serenity's introduction of Cyclic was so radical because it promised the one thing that held value to a species as advanced as ours: instantaneous creation. Using programmable liquid metal, they promised the theoretical production of any imaginable object with the thought of its structure and controlling it with the wave of your hand. What Cyclic is now began synchronizing a minuscule pile of biomechanical nanites to a controller that looked more like a bulky virtual reality headset than the next step in human evolution. Back then, you could only move this new nanotechnology on the ground from a short distance away. But shortly after global release, one user discovered how to manipulate their Cyclic in such a way it actually levitated off the ground for a few brief moments. It looked like silver water, silently opposing the laws of gravity, and effortlessly changed the shape and size in midair. He first coined the term stream, which is the fluid-like form Cyclic would take when en route to do something the user had requested. Modern historians consider this pivotal moment, which ushered in a tidal wave of innovation, what we now know as the cyclical revolution. Wow, echoes through the room. I look up to see him, Ryan, my childhood bully, walking in with the newest Cyclic controller model, the Mark IV, an implant that you can get directly behind your ear that makes it possible to stay connected to your nanites constantly. He walks through the crowd of cheering kids who, like me, all wear the Mark III and have headbands that make this mental connection possible. He sits on the other side of Alexis and stares past her to me. I quickly look back to my notes in fear. Hey Alexis, you see the new toy I got? I'm sure my daddy wouldn't mind if we got you one too. He says with a prideful ego only wealthy 14-year-olds can have. You're gross, and that's gross. My mother says that anyone who gets a microchip put in their head is too dumb to process thought without it. Also, the new controllers are free, moron. You literally agreed to anonymously be studied in exchange for a free implant. Sorry, Daddy didn't buy you anything special. I think you're more akin to Theodore, the mouse that we analyze in class. She says while swiping through the pages on her tablet. No, it's not one of those implants, he quickly stumbles to get out. I accidentally let out a quick but intrusive laugh. Something funny. He stands and approaches my desk. I pretend not to notice while cramming cyclical history facts. Hey, you hear me, you little runt? Something funny to you? Unknown? Ryan shouts as he kicks my desk. He's a strength user and never misses a chance to remind people. He conjures a large cyclical fist and grabs onto my shirt collar, pushing so hard that it forces me backwards in my seat. No, Ryan, I softly chip her. Let him go. She stands and chokes him, not with her cyclic, but with her hands. He panics and his fists break apart as he struggles to understand what's happening to him. Alec, no. Do something to Cal again, and I will end your privileged existence. Bet on it. He raises his hands and signals that he won't do anything else. Defeated, he slowly walks back to the other side of the room while the peanut gallery stares on in horror. They circle back around once he takes a seat far from us, and they gawk at Alexis and me. She turns back to me and looks down. Cal, I got your back. Always. I can feel my face warm. An embarrassing tingle lays on my cheeks, and I just want to escape the day entirely. I form Cujo back into a lifeless pile of nanites and command him back into my pocket. I'm the only one in school that has received the optional companion update, and everyone sees it as a silly joke. Most people's Cyclic remains in standby mode as a cell phone or a bracelet so they can quickly cast it out. The teacher struts in and commands that we take our seats. Alexis hurries back to her spot next to me, and I awkwardly debate what I should say, but nothing comes out. I dive back into my notes to avoid glances and get some last-minute information compiled in my brain. During the cyclical revolution, the human race, for the first time in millennia, agreed to put aside differences and collectively experience the euphoric period of creation together. As people became familiar with this technology, so it became integrated into our day-to-day routines until it was just part of the human experience. From executives to laborers, everyone found utility in having their cyclic on them at all times. Notes down, the test is starting, Cal. I'm sure you've done plenty of studying before this point, right? Mrs. Zofflet says, staring down at me and Cujo, who has now reformed and pokes his head from my pocket. Her eyes glare past a wrinkled nose and unkept silver hair, which remains in her face so students don't know who she's staring at. To actually see her eyes scare me, and I rush to close the plethora of tabs I have open. I can feel my heart rate increase as she leans over and swipes right to open the testing page. She walks to the person behind me, and I start freaking out, looking at the first question highlighted on my screen. I'll never pass this, I'll never get to the next grade, I'll never tell Alexis how I feel or talk to her again, this is it, life is over. As my mind races about the biggest regrets that I have, I feel a hand rest gently atop my right arm. I look down and see painted fingernails, chipped and bitten off. They belong to Alexis. I look up and she smiles, nodding that it'll all be okay. I got your back, Cal, always.